The MacBook is a brand of notebook computers manufactured by Apple Incorporated from early 2006 to late 2011. It replaced the iBook series and 12-inch PowerBook series of notebooks as a part of the Apple-Intel transition from PowerPC. Positioned as the low end of the MacBook family, below the premium ultra-portable MacBook Air and the powerful MacBook Pro, the Apple MacBook was aimed at the consumer and education markets. It was the best-selling Macintosh in history, and according to the sales research organization NPD Group in October 2008, the mid-range model of the MacBook was the single best-selling laptop of any brand in U.S. retail stores for the preceding 5 months. There have been 3 separate designs of the MacBook. The original model used a combination of polycarbonate and fiberglass casing which was modeled after the iBook G4. The second type, introduced in October 2008 alongside the 15-inch MacBook Pro, used a similar unibody aluminum casing to the 15-inch Pro, but lacked FireWire, as a cost balance with the more expensive aluminum case. Sales were poor and customers complained of the lack of FireWire. A third design, introduced in January 2009, reverted to the polycarbonate shell and, in response to customer backlash, reverted to FireWire again like all MacBooks prior to the late 2008 model. In this sense, it was really the first design revisited. A mid-2009 model also had FireWire, but with the late 2009 release, FireWire was again dropped by Apple. With neither USB 3.0 nor Thunderbolt as an alternative, the MacBook now lacked any high-speed port, considered an important feature by power users. On July 20, 2011, the MacBook was quietly discontinued for consumer purchase as it had been effectively superseded by the MacBook Air whose starting price was lowered. Apple continued to sell the MacBook to educational institutions until February 2012. Original polycarbonate model. The original MacBook, available in black or white cases, was released on May 16, 2006, and used the Intel Core Duo processor and 945 grams chipset, with Intel's GMA 950 integrated graphics on a 667 MHz front-side bus. Later revisions of the MacBook moved to the Core 2 Duo processor and the GM965 chipset, with Intel's GMA 103100 integrated graphics on an 800 MHz system bus. Sale of the black polycarbonate MacBook ceased in October 2008 after the introduction of the aluminum MacBook. While thinner than the iBook G4 which it replaced, the MacBook is wider than the 12-inch model due to its widescreen display. In addition, the MacBook was one of the first to adopt Apple's MagSafe power connector and it replaced the iBook's mini VGA DisplayPort with a mini DVI DisplayPort. The iBook's discrete graphics chip was initially replaced by an integrated Intel GMA solution, though the latest revisions of the MacBook were upgraded with the more powerful NVIDIA GeForce 9400M and later the 320M. While the MacBook Pro largely followed the industrial design standard set by the PowerBook G4, the MacBook was Apple's first notebook to use features now standard in its notebooks, the glossy display, the sunken keyboard design, and the non-mechanical magnetic latch. With the late 2007 revision, the keyboard received several changes to closely mirror the one which shipped with the iMac, by adding the same keyboard shortcut to control multimedia, and removing the embedded numeric keypad and the Apple logo from the command keys. A more expensive black model was offered until the introduction of the unibody aluminum MacBook. The polycarbonate MacBook was the only Macintosh notebook to be offered in more than one color since the iBook G3. Ports. The ports are all on the left edge. On early models, from front to back, they are, Kensington security slot, audio out, audio in, 2 USB 2.0 ports, FireWire 400, mini DVI, Gigabit Ethernet, MagSafe power connector. Ports for the white MacBook, on the left edge, from front to back, Kensington security slot, audio out, 2 USB 2.0 ports, mini DVI, Gigabit Ethernet, MagSafe power connector. The front edge features a short line-shaped power light and a round black infrared receiver, for Apple Remote. The right edge features only the disk slot. User serviceability. The polycarbonate Intel MacBook is easier for users to fix or upgrade than its predecessor. Where the iBook required substantial disassembly to access most internal components, including removal of the keyboard and RAM, users need only to remove the polycarbonate MacBook's outer shell to access almost any interior component. Replacing the hard drive and memory requires the removal of the battery and the RAM door. Apple provides do-it-yourself manuals for these tasks. Quality problems. In February 2007, the MacBook was recalled because the graphics card and hard drive caused the computer to overheat, forcing the unit to shut down. Some early polycarbonate MacBook models suffered from random shutdowns. Apple released a firmware update to resolve these random shutdowns. There were also cases reported of discolored or chipping palm rests. There were many instances of the edges of the palm rest and screen bezel splitting and thin strips peeling off. In such cases, Apple asked affected owners to contact Apple Care. There were problems with batteries on some models from 2007 not being read by the MacBook. This is caused by a logic board fault and not a fault with the battery. In February 2010, Apple announced a recall for MacBooks bought between 2006 and 2007 for hard drive issues. This is caused by heat and other problems. Model specifications. Apple used the A1181 code, printed on the case, for this family of models, though 17 variations may be counted if color is included. Notes: 1 requires the purchase of a wireless and enabler software from Apple in order to enable the functionality. Also enabled in Mac OS X 10.6 and later 2 hard drives noted are options available from Apple. As the hard drive is a user-replaceable part, there are custom configurations available, including use of 7200 RPM drives. 3 given optical drive speed is its maximum for. Beginning with the early 2008 revision, the Apple Remote became an optional add-on. 5 expandable to 4 GB, with 3.3 GB usable. 6 expandable to 8 GB, but with only 6 GB working stably with a Mac OS X older than June 6, 10 due to a software bug. Unibody aluminum model. On October 14, 2008, Apple announced a MacBook featuring a new NVIDIA chipset at a Cupertino, California press conference with the tagline, "The spotlight turns to notebooks." The chipset brought a 1066 MHz system bus, use of DDR3 system memory, and integrated NVIDIA GeForce 9400M graphics up to 5 times faster than the original MacBook's Intel chipset. Other changes include a display which uses LED backlights and arsenic-free glass, a new mini display port, a multi-touch glass trackpad which also acts as the mouse button, and the removal of the FireWire 400 port. Design. The design had stylistic traits of the MacBook Air which were also implemented into the design of the MacBook Pro. This model is thinner than the original polycarbonate MacBooks, and it made use of a unibody aluminum case with tapered edges. The keyboard of the higher-end model included a backlight. Reception. Although Gizmodo concluded it to be our favorite MacBook to date, they did claim, at this time, its display was inferior to that found on the MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, alleging a smaller viewing angle, washed-out colors, and dimmer backlighting. Similarly, Apple Insider and Engadget concluded it may well be Apple's best MacBook to date, and these are terrific choices not only from an industrial design standpoint, but in specs as well respectively, while also drawing attention to a lower quality display as compared with the MacBook Pro and MacBook Air. Charlie Sorrell of Wired News reached an identical conclusion about the MacBook display, citing its poor contrast and lack of vertical angle in comparison with the MacBook Pro and even the older white MacBook. Peter Cohen wrote an article discussing the loss of the FireWire port for Macworld, saying the absence of FireWire ports is certainly an inconvenience for some users. But it should unregistered trademark to be considered a deal-breaker for most of us, anyway. Model specifications, notes, 1 hard drives noted are options available from Apple. As the hard drive is a user-replaceable part, there are custom configurations available, including use of 7200 RPM drives and SSDs. 2 given optical drive speed is its maximum. Unibody polycarbonate model. On October 20, 2009, Apple released a MacBook that introduced a new polycarbonate unibody design, faster DDR3 memory, a multi-touch trackpad, an LED backlit display, and a built-in 7-hour battery. The polycarbonate unibody MacBook, like its aluminum predecessor, lacks FireWire and, like the 13-inch MacBook Pro, has a combined audio-in-out port. There is no infrared port and the Apple Remote is not included. On May 18, 2010, the MacBook was refreshed with a faster processor, a faster graphics card, improved battery life, and the ability to pass audio through the mini DisplayPort connector. On July 20, 2011, the MacBook was discontinued for consumer purchases, but was still available to educational institutions until February 2012. Design: like the MacBook Pro, the MacBook follows the same tapered design first seen in the MacBook Air. However, it is rounder on the edges than previous laptops in the MacBook line. This model has an all-white fingerprint-resistant glossy palm rest, unlike the grayish surface of its predecessor, and uses a multi-touch glass trackpad like the one found on the MacBook Pro. The video out port is mini DisplayPort. The bottom of the MacBook features a rubberized non-slip finish. The built-in battery of the late 2009 revision, a feature introduced earlier in the year with the MacBook Pro, is claimed by Apple to last 7 hours compared with 5 hours in the older models. However, in tests conducted by Macworld, the battery was found to last only about 4 hours while playing video at full brightness with AirPort turned off. However, Apple's battery life was calculated with the brightness at the middle setting and while browsing websites and editing Word documents, not with video and at full brightness. Gizmodo also reached about the same conclusion in their tests, but with AirPort turned on. The battery included in the mid-2010 model holds an additional 5 watt-hours over the previous models and is claimed to last up to 10 hours. Reception: despite being hailed by Gear as one of the best entry-level notebooks Apple have produced, the unibody MacBook has received criticism for its lack of a FireWire port and SD card slot. Nilay Patel of Engadget added the USB ports were easily dented and the bottom of the laptop became worn and discolored after a few days. He also drew particular attention to the fact that the price was not lowered, stating the small price difference between the MacBook and the MacBook Pro makes it a wasted pricing opportunity. However, most critics agree that the unibody MacBook's display is significantly better than its predecessors. Apple Insider states the new display delivers significantly better color and viewing angle performance than the previous MacBook, but still not as vivid and wide-angle viewable as the MacBook Pro screens. Model specifications, notes, one memory noted are the options available from Apple. As memory is a user-replaceable part, there are custom configurations available, including use of two 2 GB RAM modules. For 4 GB of RAM, 2 hard drives noted are options available from Apple. As the hard drive is a user-replaceable part, there are custom configurations available, including use of 7200 RPM drives and SSDs. 3 given optical drive speed is its maximum. Criticisms and defects: the rubber bottom of unibody MacBooks has been known to start bubbling and peel off. Apple has noticed this as a flaw and will replace the bottom for free, with or without a warranty. Some consumers have also reported defects in their LCD displays in mid-2010-2011 models. Timeline of the MacBook family. See also, comparison of Macintosh models, MacBook family, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, references. External links, official website, MacBook Developer Note, MacBook Buyer's Guide, Mac Repairs.